Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for a new comic from Marvel Comics. This is The Ultimates #1. This is a new title that continues the Ultimate line over at Marvel. Let's talk about the creative team. So before we get into this book is written by Dennis Camp with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Blee, letters by Travis Lanham, and a plethora of covers. You'll see some at the end of the video. Let's get into this. The Ultimates return to greatness, spinning out of Jonathan Hickman and Stefano Caselli's Ultimate Universe #1. Rising stars Dennis Camp, who has written stuff like Children of the Vault or 20th Century Man, and artist Juan Frigeri from Invincible Iron Man assemble an all-new team of Ultimates in a series that kicks off the next chapter of the Ultimate line. 6 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter Parker, a radioactive spider, to set him back on course to become Spider-Man. Since then, the Iron Lad, Stark, Captain America, Doom, Thor, and Sif have begun to do the same to other lost heroes, building a network of superpower heroes hungry for change. Now they must band together to destroy the Maker's Council and restore freedom and free will to a world that ruled from the shadows. This definitely sounds like a lot. But I think if you read that Ultimate Universe #1, you'll have enough context to go back into this. There's also a great narrative page that kind of shows you this, like, it kind of brings you up to speed into the world. Overall, this was a really, really fun #1. I think it sets up a very interesting mission, right? There's definitely a clear goal of what these Ultimates have to do. There's a running clock, there's a running timeline, because the Maker will return in a specified amount of time. So this gives the team a flexibility to show some urgency while still raising the stakes. Now, how does a world without superheroes like kind of function? You know that this universe is kind of broken up into these factions that control everything, and now that the Ultimates have been labeled terrorists, they have even more problems to fight because it's hard to recruit and bring new heroes into the fold. There's so much disbelief and so much that they have to convince people of. So let's talk a little bit about the art. I think Juan Frigeri, I really enjoyed his run on Invincible Iron Man. I thought it was really, like, he just has a really fun way to display the art. Although this issue has a lot of kind of sitting around talking and a little bit of exposition, I think Juan Frigeri makes that feel and look a little bit dynamic. While still, when we get to the action scenes, just really incredible stuff. I think that's where Frigeri really excels when it comes to some of the action. Let's take a look at some of the preview art. So we catch up with the first pages, the panel after the explosion and the attack 6 months ago, and then we check in with the Ultimates. I do love how, like, Tony looks young, right? Because his father was Iron Man he is Iron Lad in this world, so Tony should be young. One thing that really caught me off guard was how goofy Captain America looks frozen in the ice, right? I don't know that there's a I don't know that there's a cool way to be frozen in ice. We also have Thor, who's been injured after the attack. Lady Sif, who's his kind of like his keeper. Like, he's kind of a prisoner. Thor's not the ruler of Asgard as in the other world. And of course we have Doom, who's the Reed Richards of this universe. So this is our starting team. And of course, the plan is, how do we get the world back to the way it should be? How do we fix it? We have 2 years. I think the dialogue between Stark and Doom, it really works. Like, it doesn't feel convoluted, but it does. It captures the voices. Obviously, in this world, Reed is a lot more experienced, and I just really love Frigeri never letting us forget that the Maker's out there, right? That's a really fun way to put it. Yeah, so I like the character designs. Now, a lot of this stuff is coming from Brian Hitch's work, because he did the original Ultimate Invasion and Ultimate stuff. But yeah, overall, I think this is a great way to kick off a new series. I've really been enjoying the whole Ultimate line, right? Ultimate Spider-Man is my favorite comic ongoing right now from Marvel. And the other two are just really, really fun as well. So, a welcome addition. I like Dennis Camp. I really enjoyed Children of the Vault, which is funny enough. Uh, Den- this is another case of Dennis Camp kind of continuing some of the work that Hickman had set up, because the Children of the Vault were set up by Hickman in his X-Men run. And now here we have the Ultimates being set up by Jonathan Hickman and Dennis Kemp kind of taking over. So I like that. Maybe they're on the same wavelength. I don't know what the conversations are like over at the Marvel office, but I appreciate that Marvel feels confident enough in Dennis' capabilities to like, yeah, here, take over. This is a big franchise book, right? So very excited to see the rest. Like I said, a lot of cool covers in the back in the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. So hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Wolverine Blood Hunt #1. This is a Blood Hunt tie-in into the Blood Hunt event from Marvel. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Tom Waltz with art by Juan Jose Rip, Guru effects on colors, letters by Corey Petit. This all takes place, of course, after Blood Hunt #1. I don't know where it fits within all the X-Men stuff in the Krakoan age. It doesn't really matter, I would say. So, but let's talk about this book a little bit more in detail. In this book, Logan fights back the darkness. Wolverine's the best there is at what he does, and today, fighting vampires is going to have to be at the top of that list. Do not miss the Marvel debut of the scintillating scribe Tom Waltz, who's been writing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for a long, long time, including the last Ronin story, as he teams up with the daring duo of Juan Jose Rip, who's worked on Vengeance of the Moon Knight, for a bloody good time. As the sky darkens across the globe, the vampires reign. What hidden plot puts Logan directly in their crosshairs? Hint, it's nothing like you've seen in Blood Hunt yet. Be there as the plot and blood thickens when the secret vampire sect enacts a startling strategy that'll take Logan and the world to the brink. We also have some really interesting characters that come back from Logan's past. So, I'm gonna be very straightforward. I Juan Jose Rip's art is not my favorite art style. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the coloring. I don't know if it's the aesthetic of it. Uh, it's just not my favorite. I think it's very well done, very well executed. As far as just technically, it's really an aesthetic preference. I just can't really put my finger on it. I'll show some preview pages in a minute. And overall, Tom Waltz does a really good job just telling a Wolverine story, right? It's going to be full of surprises. We have 3 issues, and I think this issue really took its time setting up a lot of the world of like, oh, now vampires are after Wolverine. What are they going to do next, and why are they chasing him? And then who's going to be there to help him? I don't recognize the person that kind of jumped on at the end. I had to look more into their background. But I think it's a really interesting surprise or addition to this miniseries. So let me pull up some of the preview art because, like I said, I think technically it's very effective. Like it works very well. Even with the tone of the story, is just like I said, not my favorite. I can't quite pinpoint what it is. But here you see Logan hanging out at a bar. Of course he is, and he realizes that stuff's about to go down. Somebody's here for him, and you see these vampires dressed in military outfits trying to chase him, and that's where the carnage ends. This book is very bloody. It is definitely very violent, and I think it just escalates from here. But yeah, Tom Waltz and the team are really good about doing that kind of stuff. So overall, I think this is a good series. I'll probably read this once it's completed. I don't think I'm going to read the next 2 issues weekly. Also, I don't think this is what I would call something you have to read in order to get through Blood Hunt. But you can definitely check this out. I think it'll be fun. But like I said, it's just maybe just not my favorite thing. So sometimes upon revisiting, sometimes that changes my mind, but we'll see. I've read stuff with Juan Jose Rip's art before. And overall, I just really do it to kind of go through the story and know what's going on. But hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review of X-Men 35. This is the end of the series for now until we reboot it. Let's talk about the creative teams involved in here. There's a lot of people involved in this, so let's kind of go through The characters we'll see. Let's go through the creators that were working on this. So we have writers Gary Duggan, Al Ewing, and Kieran Gillen, who were pretty much three of the main writers of especially the last few series. We also have multiple artists, including Joshua Cassara, Phil Noto, Lucas Wernick, Lenny Francis Yu, Walter Simonson, Mark Brooks, John Romita Jr., Scott Hanna, Jerome Opena, Luciano Vecchio, Stefano Caselli, and Sarah Pichelli. We also have colors: Romulo Fajardo Jr., David Correa, Laura Martin, Sonia Obick, Marcio Menes, Matt Hollingsworth, and Matthew Wilson, with letters by Clinton Cowell. Really cool main cover by Pepe Larraz and Marta Gracia, and Tom Mueller and Jay Bowen on the design of the book. Wow, it really, truly does take a village, huh? Um, so we are here. This is the end. This is it. Like the Krakoan era comes to an end with this book, and I really enjoyed it. I think they really nailed down the emotional roller coaster that was this book and bringing it all to life. So let's talk a little bit about this specific issue. The end of an era, Uncanny X-Men 700. All good things must come to an end. And as a good thing as the Krakoan era has been for mutant kind, its time has come at last. The tragedy and triumph of the fall of the House of X, the madness and mystery of the rise of the powers of 10, they have all come to their end and led to this moment that will change the future of mutant kind for years to come. Written and drawn by an all-star cast of writers and artists who have shaped the Krakoan age, this milestone no X-fan will want to miss. Also, we have a backup story by X-Men master Chris Claremont and a glimpse of things to come. So yeah, at the back of this issue, this is an oversized issue. At the back of this issue, you will see multiple things specifically like that. So let's talk about some of the back matter stuff first. So, as you can see, we have a little story about Nightcrawler and his family. This is by Chris Claremont and Salvador La Roca. And I think it's just a fun thing. I think Chris Claremont loves to write. He loves to write Nightcrawler, and I think that's one of the reasons he jumped on that. We also have a little preview, just a few pages at the back. We see the fates of some of our favorite mutants, including Xavier, a little tease of the new stuff coming up with Cyclops in his new outfit. We see Rogue. We see Kate Pride kind of being away from everything, right? And we also see Kamala Khan and kind of the stuff that was leading up to her. So, and of course, the Phoenix. So, yeah, pretty much Xavier checking in on things and very excited for everything that's to come. Here you can see at the back the new series that will be coming out of this. So, and very exciting stuff. So, but let's talk about the meat and potatoes here. This issue just really does a lot of work to close out a lot of the loose ends that were left kind of hanging, right? We don't know what the fate of Xavier is going to be. We don't know how all the mutants that were stuck or left or had been killed in places ago, like how they would come back. I think one of the hardest things to do is whenever a creative team is done with a property or a family like the X-Men office, you try to put things as back to the status quo as much as you can. You can't do everything, but you also want to give the next creative team or the next creative office that comes in a good chance to kind of tell their own story. And for the most part, I think they did that very well. I really love the addition of multiple artists. I think to me, this is really Joshua Cassara and Phil Noto's issue. I think there's other artists that kind of do a couple of pages at a time, but Cassara, who had been really doing all the X-Men stuff in the last few issues, and then Phil Noto, who also did a bulk of the work in the Krakoan Age, pretty much showing up in a lot of books. I love their artwork. So let's take a look at some of that art. These are some of Joshua Cassara's pages. You see Wolverine here. He's not very happy with Chuck. But Magneto stops him right from ending Charles Xavier because, of course, it's not his place, not his duty. So they do begin to have a conversation. We also see the return of Krakoa, a different Krakoa from the future. This is all from the rise of the powers of 10. And we see Doug, Cypher is back. These are all Phil Noto's pages, and I love Phil Noto. I love the way that he draws the characters. I love the way that his aesthetic, even though some people may find it maybe a little bit rigid, I just really, really appreciate the look. And yeah, you see that because of stuff that happens in the book. I won't go too much into detail, so you can actually talk, go into it. A lot of the mutants are back for different reasons, and this Krakoa is back, and Krakoa is not really over. It's just kind of out of reach for now. There are, of course, really cool fights. Leniel Francis Yu shows up and gives us this amazing fight with Apocalypse, which I never learned his. I don't know. I never learned how to say his mutant name. I don't think they've ever said it. We also still have, Doom has his own X-Men, which is really cool. And then we also check up with Charles Xavier all throughout this run. So like this issue just really, really goes in and closes all those loops. And of course, there is a plethora of variant covers for it. This is another big milestone issue. And I just really enjoyed it. I really, especially, oh my God, look at that cover. Pepe Larraz with the wraparound cover. There's so many cool covers. You'll see some at the end of the video, but I love this era. I really enjoyed it. And although it wasn't perfect, although not every book hit it, like the ending of this really, really nailed what I appreciated about the Krakoan Age. And it is kind of a bummer that a lot of things have to go back to normal, but I think we should appreciate the ride that we were on for about almost 5 years, which is outstanding for a universe to exist this long. So yeah. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Blood Hunters #2. This is the little anthology book that's a Blood Hunt tie-in. So let's take a look at whose stories we're going to be talking about today. You can probably tell based on the characters and the cover. So we have a Hulk story by Carrie Andrews, End of the Well, with art by Alex Lintz, colors by KJ Diaz. Interesting that Carrie Andrews didn't do his own art. We also have We Drink to Forget We Drink. This is written by Innocenti with art by David Baldion and colors by Hava Tartaglia. This is the Kate Bishop Hawkeye story. And last but not least, we have Once More Into the Darkness Part 2. This is the story by Erica Schultz with art by Bernard Chang, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and this follows Elsa Bloodstone, the Monster Hunter. So let's get into it. I think the approach of an anthology has been a lot of fun for the Blood Hunt tie-in. Specifically, this one, you get to see a lot of different places that are happening. It's really fun. I think if you bring in the Hulk into the main event, that would be like sometimes it's kind of hard for the Hulk not to take over the plot. But having him be on a side quest is definitely interesting to check in, right? So let's take a look at some of the Hulk's preview art. And interestingly enough, they picked an artist that reminds me aesthetically of Carrie Andrews, like the loose pencils, the more stretched out figures, like short, like lanky, short limbs. I mean, longer limbs and just the angles. I think it's very reminiscent. I do love seeing the flashbacks to Bruce, kind of relating what's going on now to some trauma from his childhood. So I think that's very, very interesting. So the next story is the Kate Bishop story. And this is just really Kate dealing with vampires in a very different way. Also, kind of maybe Ghost. I don't know. I don't know this character very well. I don't know where they come from, who they are, but we do get to see a little bit of that. So let me pull up some preview art. I think Innocenti is doing a really fun job. Now, this does take place before Avengers 14 because we know that Kate will eventually go join the Avengers. But yeah, I mean, I just love all the bats in the background. I think that looks such a cool aesthetic, and just Kate like in the middle fighting along with Lucky. But yeah, this other guy, Anton, and his I don't know, ghost twin girls. I don't know if they're ghosts. I don't know. That was kind of hard to parse out just because of all the supernatural stuff that's going on. But still, a very fun story, very interesting. And then we continue here with Elsa Bloodstone's story, just kind of dealing with monsters as they come. I think Erica Schultz does a really fun job to giving us a lot of cool action, a lot of really interesting characters. Right, we see Frankenstein here, or Frankenstein monster. I don't really remember what he's called in the Marvel universe. And then Elsa Bloodstone as well, being interrupted. Yeah, and she's just going all out for it. She's not afraid. So really interesting. I I just don't know much about Bloodstone to kind of keep up with some of the extra stuff that's probably thrown in there. But as far as just a one and done story, I thought this was really interesting. So yeah, quite enjoy this. Really enjoying this anthology style, and really interesting to see what other characters they'll bring. Probably we have one more maybe. I think these a lot of these times are only 3 issues long. So yeah, let me know, what did you think about this little anthology. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Venom number 34. This is a blood hunt tie, hence the reason I'm reviewing it. I'm not really caught up on the Venom series, so let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. In this book, we have writer Al Ewing with art by Juan Ferreira, letters by Glenn Cowell, a really cool cover by Cafu. I really love Cafu's art, so it's really cool to see him here. There's also a really cool cover by Mahmoud Assar. You'll see at the end of the video. Please stay tuned for that. It is worth it just to stay tuned for that. So, in this issue, Lee Price returns. The captive is loose, and the vampiric superfoe thirst for one thing: venom. And the captive isn't the only problem. The dead now walk the earth, smothered in eternal night. Vampires infest New York City, and Lee Price, one time host to the Venom symbiote, rises from the grave and has unfinished business with his old partner. Interestingly enough, this is a very weird story. Now, I will say, because I'm not caught up on the Venom, some of the stuff kind of goes over my head, but it's still really cool to see some of Venom's past kind of come back to haunt him. Also, of course, the symbiote. There's a lot of stuff going on with Eddie Brock and Dylan, his son, after the events of the King in Black. So the status quo for Venom has changed a lot, and that part made it a little bit hard to kind of get through everything. But Al Ewing's a really good writer, and he deliver like on the horror front. I think he truly delivers, and Ferreira's art really handles that and brings that to life very well. So let's pull up some of the preview art here. Like, just the aesthetic of this priest being a vampire, and Ferreira's choice to do like the fangs so much longer, like very reminiscent of Venom's teeth, right? That's an interesting parallel. And then, of course, this priest having dealt with both Eddie and Dylan. So, like, how does that tie them together? The stories, so it's a nice parallel. But yeah, this story is super gnarly, and you haven't even seen anything about what's going on the other side of the book. So overall, although I don't think this is a required reading, if you're enjoying the Venom run, I don't think this deviates too much from the main story, just from what I was reading in the summary. So it's probably really enjoyable. It's probably more enjoyable if you're caught up on Venom, because the stakes are a little bit higher. But yeah, Juan Ferreira's art really sold this for me. I could watch him draw vampires forever. I think they just have a really fun. I don't know. I like the idea of the teeth being so different, and not just like the normal vampire teeth that we are used to. So yeah, really cool stuff. Please stay tuned to see those covers at the end of the video, because boy oh boy, they like Mahmoud Assar really knocked it out of the park. I wish I had seen that cover in my shop. I definitely would have picked it up. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.